Hey everyone, the time has come. I spent a solid 3 days going through Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and enjoying it as much as I could, and now it's time for me to deliver my spoiler-free review of the game, starting with the good, followed by the bad, and ending with an overall rating out of 10. Let's get started. Starting with the good. The first thing that stood out to me immediately was the sound design. This is an area where the Metroid Prime series has always excelled, but Prime 4 brings a level of crispness and weight that made almost every action satisfying. The new beams especially deserve attention. Every shot feels distinct. The charging sounds, the release of each blast, the subtle layering of mechanical and energetic tones, it all works together to make the combat audio feel dynamic and responsive. Even ambient sound has an elevated level of detail. Environmental audio cues, distant echoes, creature movement, and subtle shifts in atmosphere all contribute to maintaining immersion as you explore. This is the sound design I expect from a Prime game, but with modern clarity and precision. It enhances tension in combat, it grounds the world in a believable texture, and it adds another layer to the overall atmosphere. It's one of the strongest technical aspects of the game, and one of the elements that impressed me most consistently throughout the playthrough. Next, I want to talk about the boss fights, which I largely loved. Metroid Prime has a long history of memorable, creative, and mechanically engaging bosses, and Prime 4 continues this trend with a strong lineup. The visual presentation during boss fights is also noteworthy. Enemy designs are detailed, animations are fluid, and the arenas themselves are crafted to enhance the battle rather than distract from it. A lot of thought went into camera placement, environmental hazards, and how Samus's toolkit interacts with the space. The pacing of these battles is also something I appreciated. They strike a good balance between challenge and clarity. Attacks feel fair, patterns are learnable, and victories feel earned rather than handed to you. I'll be honest, I died a few times on normal mode against the bosses. There are several encounters that stand out as some of the series' best from a design standpoint. I will say there is one caveat regarding boss fights that I'll talk about later, but as a whole, the majority of these encounters were highlights of the game for me and showcase what Retro Studios does well. Another strength I want to highlight is the music. Prime 4 carries the musical DNA of the original trilogy, atmospheric, electronic, and deeply tied to the worlds you explore, but it also incorporates more modern layering and mixing while staying true to the series' tone. The soundtrack supports exploration and discovery without overpowering it. Themes transition smoothly between indoor and outdoor spaces, combat sequences, and environmental shifts. Some tracks feel like direct spiritual successors to iconic Prime themes, while still bringing something new. Boss themes in particular are a standout. They're tense, rhythmic, and sync well with the pacing of each encounter. The music feels cohesive across the entire game and contributes significantly to the sense of immersion. Simply put, this is one of the stronger Metroid soundtracks in recent years. It knows when to be subtle, when to be atmospheric, and when to elevate major moments without overshadowing them. Atmosphere and exploration are fundamental to any Metroid Prime game, and Prime 4 delivers exactly what fans would expect. The environments feel handcrafted with detailed architecture, organic world building, and areas that reward observation as much as they reward progression. The scanning system remains a major part of how the world communicates information. It provides context, lore, and environmental details without interrupting gameplay. The level design encourages curiosity, and progression often comes from carefully understanding your surroundings rather than simply following a direct path. Lighting, particle effects, environmental density, and visual cues all help create a sense of isolation and discovery. Prime 4 maintains the trademark feeling of being alone in an alien world, piecing together mysteries one step at a time. The pacing between combat and exploration is also strong, with quiet stretches that allow the atmosphere to settle in before major encounters. There's a sense of identity in each area that makes exploration feel meaningful. Even without going into specifics, the game provides several distinct environments that all support the themes and tone of the Metroid universe. Overall, if you value exploration and atmosphere as defining features of the series, Prime 4 stays faithful to that tradition. Now, before playing the game, I had concerns about the inclusion of more NPCs and a stronger connection to the Galactic Federation like everyone, albeit I decided to be more optimistic than others during pre-release. However, after experiencing them firsthand, I honestly found the NPCs to be kind of endearing. Their dialogue is occasionally corny, but it's consistent with the tone that the game is aiming for. The interactions are mostly brief, they do not interrupt gameplay flow in my opinion, and they help establish a broader context for the story without overwhelming it. More importantly, their presence reinforces the universe Samus exists in. It gives scale to her mission, helps build stakes, and provides a sense of connection to the wider galaxy she's protecting. The Federation-related moments add structure to the narrative and tie this entry more directly into the overarching Metroid storyline. I never felt like the NPCs were intrusive or unnecessary. They're used mostly sparingly and provide just enough detail to support the cinematic tone the game embraces. Their inclusion makes the world feel more populated and story-driven, which aligns with how Prime 4 positions itself. Now, I need to address the one aspect of the game that I genuinely did not like: the Viola bike sections. Now, this has been a common theme across other creators' videos that I've seen, but the Soul Valley area associated with it and the requirement to collect the green energy crystals was just not my favorite. Without going into storyline details, these segments form a portion of gameplay that takes you away from the core loop of exploration, scanning, platforming, and combat. The Viola bike sections break the pace and introduce mechanics that don't feel nearly as smooth or refined as the rest of the game. Navigating Soul Valley while trying to complete the crystal collection objective feels repetitive and disrupts the sense of immersion. It becomes a task rather than an exploration opportunity. I found myself wanting to return to the traditional Prime gameplay flow as quickly as possible. The issue isn't that the idea behind this mechanic is inherently bad, it just doesn't simply integrate well with the rest of the game, and it ends up feeling like a required detour that slows progression. The fact that it's necessary to move forward makes it more noticeable, and it stands out as a weaker component compared to the otherwise strong systems in the game. While it doesn't ruin the experience, it does interrupt it, and it's easily the weakest part of Prime 4 for me. Earlier, I did also mention a caveat regarding boss fights. The caveat specifically applies to the two bosses that involve the Viola bike. These encounters don't reach the level of depth or clarity found in the traditional on-foot boss fights. The controls feel less precise, the readability of attacks is reduced, and the flow of the encounters doesn't match the strengths of the game's core combat. Because the bike itself already feels less intuitive than Samus' standard movement, adding boss mechanics on top of that creates a sense of friction. These two encounters aren't poorly designed conceptually, but the execution doesn't align with the strength of the rest of the game's combat system. Aside from these two bosses, the rest of the game's major fights are strong, engaging, and consistent with the series' legacy. One final note before wrapping up: Metroid Prime 4 feels much closer to Metroid Prime 3 than to Prime 1 or 2. This is especially apparent in the cinematic presentation, the integration of story elements into gameplay, and the use of more structured narrative beats. The game has a stronger focus on cutscene-driven storytelling and character involvement than the earlier entries, which were more atmospheric and solitary. The influence of Prime 3 gives the game a more modern and accessible tone without abandoning the core identity of the series. Fans who prefer a more isolated experience may notice the shift, but the balance between story and exploration is handled well overall, in my opinion. Despite the issues with the bike segments, Metroid Prime 4 is still a strong entry in the series, and succeeds in delivering a modern evolution of the Prime formula. It respects the past while pushing the series forward, and the strengths far outweigh the weaknesses. For me, as a lifelong Metroid fan, I would rate this game an 8.5 out of 10. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I want to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, please leave a like, subscribe, and as always, have an amazing rest of your day.